Okay, so I'm editing this video and TrainerRoad just announced their adaptive training feature that is supposed to be a complete game changer for all users. If you haven't seen their latest podcast where they review the whole thing, check it out. Really exciting stuff and I can't wait to try it. This video that you're about to watch, I shot before their big announcement, so keep that in mind and enjoy. What's up everyone, it's Claudio here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my experience with the TrainerRoad SweetSpot base training program, specifically the high volume one. This will be my second year using the same training plan, and I'll be going over all of my FTP gains, comparing it to last year, as well as all my general thoughts. I'll also be discussing some of the issues that were brought up by Dylan Johnson in his latest video on the TrainerRoad training plans. So let's get right into it. So if you haven't seen my 1-year review of TrainerRoad video, be sure to check that out. Link is in the description. I go over my entire first year experience with their base, build, and specialty plans and show all my FTP gains as well as all my improvements in my races. At the peak of my 2020 race season, I tested at 280 watts for my FTP, which was at the end of the rolling race specialty phase high volume. This was in September and it put me at 4.1 watts per kilo. Not only was it the strongest FTP I've ever had, but my ability to surge and recover was on point. This led to a bunch of great results in my races in September. In October of 2020, I had stopped structured training and I finished out my season with a couple of local races as well as a few big 100+ mile group rides. At the end of October, I had a huge meltdown in one of those big 120-mile rides. Essentially, I lost any significant ability to push power after 60 miles, and around 100 miles, I could barely push out 100 watts. It wasn't a nutrition thing since I was stuffing my face the whole time, just like I normally did. My body just had enough for that season, and that was my cue to take some time off the bike and reset. After almost 2 weeks off the bike, I was ready and excited to come back to structured training and begin the TrainerRoad SweetSpot base training high volume. I went with the high volume plan because I knew I had the time, and the previous year I had success with this plan. So on November 3rd of 2020, I took the ramp test and tested at 265 watts for my FTP. That's a 15 watt drop from my previous FTP test, but I knew that I could easily make that up. All right, so this plan has me working out for 6 days a week, with Monday as my recovery day totally off the bike, and Friday is my zone 2 ride, which I can omit if I'm not feeling up for it, if I want to give myself an extra day of rest. So first week, tested at 265 watts in my ramp test. Everything's looking good. On Saturday, I went on a group ride. It happened to be a nice weekend, good weather, so I hopped on that. No other big changes. Week 2, everything, perfect attendance, and I hit all my marks, no problem. Each week, the TSS is going up. Week 3, halfway through on Friday, I catch a cold, so I'm off the bike 4 days. It's got to be one of the most depressing things to go on Training Peaks and just watch your score drop slowly and slowly from just being off the bike and getting sick. It's got to be one of the worst feelings. If you know, you know. Now we're week 4, I'm on the bike again, everything hit all my marks, and I changed one thing. On Sunday, I do a long ride on Zwift, zone 2. I kept it steady between 180, 190 watts. That was just to break up the sweet spot. It's just a lot of sweet spot, and it just tends to burn me out mentally more than anything else. So I added that long ride, and what's cool is that if you read the notes, they actually say that you can substitute one of these easy zone 2 rides as an option. So they give you the options of either doing Town Hill or McClure for this week. And I looked those up, and those are just straight up zone 2 rides for 2.5 hours, 3 hours each. So I did that, and it's great. Week 5, same thing. I hit all my marks, and I do a 3 hours and 15 minutes this time. And that was a pretty intense ride, 180 TSS over the recommended 137 for Galena Plus 3. So I'm really pushing myself here with those zone 2 rides. And then week 6 is a recovery week, all zone 2. I started getting knee pain on this last ride here of my recovery week. I started getting some knee pain. It was on the bottom of my knee, and then also it transferred to the side, and sometimes it was in the front. And that's nothing new for me because during triathlon training, I had all kinds of those problems with the running, and it was mostly due to my tight hip. I have all kinds of mobility issues, And I knew that I needed to do some kind of a physical therapy exercise to get through that. So I did that. It took me off the bike. It took me 2 days to really recover from that knee pain. And then again, I tested here with a little bit of knee pain on Wednesday. My RAM test came out to be 265 watts. That's exactly the same as my first test 6 weeks prior. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. How did I do all that work and my FTP didn't go up? So I just chalked it up to that half of sick week and then the knee pain taking me off the bike again. So I was 2 days off the bike before doing my RAM test, which is not recommended. Anyways, started again on the Friday ride. The Friday ride now becomes an hour and a half endurance, which is hard. This is one of the hardest things. The second volume SweetSpot plan gives you so 90 minutes of zone 2, and I sometimes would lower the intensity and sometimes even lower the duration. But I kept going. 3-hour long ride on Sunday. Week number 2 of that, everything looks good. Again, 3-hour long ride. Week number 3, everything's looking good. 3-hour long ride. I'm in there. I'm on point. Now, week 4, everything's looking good except on that Friday zone 2 ride, I had to stop because my knee pain came back and it took me off the bike 1, 2, 3 days off the bike. And that was not good. Not good at all. So what ended up happening was I looked it up online and some people were like, man, check your seat height. And I ended up lowering my seat height for 2 to 3 millimeters. And that was it. Knee pain was gone almost right away. I was really shocked about that. But man, check out your seat height. I remember I had a really nice bike fit, but I switched out my seat post at some point and I probably messed up the seat height again. Maybe went a little too high. So lowered it and now knee pain is all gone. So week 5, I came back and you can see coming back, my workout was 4 times 20 minutes at SweetSpot. That is one hell of a workout. And I just couldn't finish it after 3 days off the bike. So I did 2.5 of those intervals, then came back the next day, did 3 intervals, 20 minutes SweetSpot, and kept going. Everything is on point. Got to week number 6, my recovery week, did some trail riding, cyclocross, signed up for a Zwift race, which is not at all any kind of a recovery activity, but whatever. I got dropped in 10 minutes or something. Finished that out. On my recovery week, I did some sprints. Okay, I don't know if that's really recommended, but that Zwift race really got me into the mood to do some of those Zwift starts. So I looked up a workout and just did that. And that's the end of my SweetSpot training, 12 weeks. Then I started the short power build, high volume, and I tested at 271 watts. Not bad. I was happy with that. So that 6-watt increase throughout my entire 12-week base training plan was a lot less than last year, which was 19 watts. 19 watts last year throughout my entire base training SweetSpot high volume. So this year, after just getting 6 watts increased, I was like, yo, TrainerRoad, where's my 19-watt increase again? But let's get real. Progress is not always linear. And they stress that in their podcast. They talk about how the higher you progress through your training, the smaller your gains become. So let's talk about Dylan's video. Essentially, he's saying that these TrainerRoad plans are overtraining athletes. He shows data and science comparing how polarized training is more effective than SweetSpot training. This is probably true, and let's assume that it is. I've never tried polarized training, but at some point I'd like to. First, let me address the overtraining dangers of the SweetSpot high volume plans. To begin with, you need to absolutely be on point with your sleep, nutrition, and recovery. If any of those are off, you will wreck yourself trying to do this plan. It's very challenging both physically and mentally, but it's really not impossible. TrainerRoad talks about the option of possibly scaling down to the mid-volume plan if during the first couple of weeks of the high volume, you feel that it's just too much stress and you can't handle it. Again, most likely it's your sleep or nutrition that are off if you're having problems, or just your motivation. I remember grinding through some of these 2-hour SweetSpot workouts at like 65 RPM through every interval because I was just so mentally fatigued from so much SweetSpot. I'm the kind of person that feels awful if I don't complete a workout, so I will die trying to complete an interval. The few times when I genuinely felt overtrained during this plan was when my sleep was off by like several hours. So we're talking 5 to 6 hours instead of 8 hours a night. And when I was stressed out from work issues, it really made a big impact on my training. It's really difficult to have a successful workout when life is just adding on extra stress. So as long as I follow the coaching tips in the programming and make good decisions, these plans seem to work well for me. Also, it's important to remember TrainerRoad's branding. Get faster. So did I get faster? Yes. Are there other ways to get faster? Yes, and I'll probably try them at some point. The biggest reason why I like TrainerRoad is because of the overall value. For $189 a year, I'm getting complete training plans for the base, build, and specialty phases, as well as a plan builder function that'll help me peak for individual races. And as added value, they have a free podcast with a ton of training tips that'll help you throughout your entire journey. They also have a big forum where athletes can discuss all of their experiences. So if you use all of their resources, you most likely will find success. But if you want the most optimized training program that'll make you the fastest possible cyclist you can be, you probably want an individualized training plan from a private coach that will track and analyze all your progress and adjust your workouts on a weekly and maybe daily basis. That can cost anywhere between $150 and $500 a month, and that's a whole nother ballgame. So what's next for me? Well, I started the short power build, high volume, and it's been going great. Instead of the Thursday high intensity interval ride, I've started doing Zwift racing, and it's been a ton of fun. I've been doing the shorter, super high intensity races, and I finally got to where I finished with the front group for the first time in the B field. So feel free to subscribe and follow my journey in the Zwift racing scene. I've got my eyes on some real world races coming up this spring, and after putting them into my plan builder, I am starting the Criterium specialty phase this coming week. After just 3 weeks of the short power build, I've made another jump in my FTP up to 277 watts, and that puts me at 3.9 watts per kilo. My goal is to be at or above 4 watts per kilo when I start racing again, and to have a really good ability to surge and recover. And if you want to follow my daily workouts, feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I post all my workouts on my Instagram stories at Claudio_Fierro. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think of SweetSpot training and if you've tried polarized training. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.